Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 11th of June 2017 and the 4th of Ba'una 1733 AM. I'm Mira Gogas. In today's headlines, Qatar are willing to talk to resolve diplomatic crisis. Gulf rift over Qatar could complicate US goals in the Mideast. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says don't rule out the red carpet for Trump. US-backed forces launch bid to take Raqqa from ISIS. Manchester police uncover significant evidence in the recent bombing. And Yemen cholera cases pass 100,000 amid unprecedented epidemic. Qatar said it is open to mediation to resolve the crisis that has seen a group of nearby countries move to isolate the emirate over claims it supports Islamist extremist groups. Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, the foreign minister, said in an interview with CNN, "We are willing to sit and talk. We are not a superpower here. We are not believing in solving things with confrontation." He said his progressive and modern country believes in diplomacy and promoting peace in the Middle East. Al Thani insisted his country was combating terror financing and protecting the world from potential terrorists. But a key architect of the blockade on Qatar told CNN that Gulf countries are fed up with this sort of duplicity from Qatar. The United Arab Emirates Minister for Foreign Affairs, Anwar Gargash, said from Dubai, very huge logistical financial support for extremist groups. Support also for some terrorist organizations such as Al-Nusra Front and some organizations in Libya and in our area, such as the Sinai and other areas. This is really at the crux of the issue. There is no more trust. It is time for cooler heads to restructure Qatar's approach on foreign policy. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Bahrain, Yemen, and the Maldives said Monday that they are indefinitely severing ties with Qatar, a Persian Gulf country of 2.4 million people, mostly foreign workers. Libya's eastern-based government, which is not internationally recognized and has no diplomatic representation in Doha, also cut ties. A feud among Washington's closest Gulf allies could disrupt US efforts to fight ISIS and counter Iran in the Middle East over the long term, even as Trump administration officials insist the rift will have no immediate impact. Just 2 weeks after President Donald Trump celebrated the unity of Gulf nations in efforts to contain Iran and defeat ISIS, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain have led a dramatic move to cut off diplomatic relations with Qatar, host to the largest US military base in the Middle East. The triad of Gulf nations, joined by Egypt, Yemen, and Maldives, have halted flights to Qatar, closed their borders, and ordered Qatari citizens and diplomats out of their countries in the latest flare-up of long-simmering tensions, driven partly by the belief that Qatar is aligned too closely with Iran. Countries in the Gulf are key to the US-led coalition against ISIS, with Qatar hosting the US military's Al Udeid Air Base, the main regional center for daily air missions and coordination of all air operations. But US officials, including Defense Secretary James Mattis, say the diplomatic rift will not disrupt that campaign. US President Donald Trump's war of words with the Mayor of London continued Monday, with the two men trading barbs even as the city mourns the victims of Saturday's terror attack. Speaking to the UK's Channel 4 News, London Mayor Sadiq Khan reiterated that he thought a planned state visit to the UK for Trump should be called off. Khan said, "I don't think we should roll out the red carpet to the President of the USA in the circumstances where his policies go against everything we stand for. When you have a special relationship, it is no different from when you have got a close mate. You stand with them in times of adversity, but you call them out when they are wrong. And there are many things about which Donald Trump is wrong." He said his position on the planned state visit had remained consistent. In January of this year, Khan insisted Trump's state visit to Britain to be cancelled after the US president attempted to impose a travel ban on Muslim nations, a policy that he labelled cruel and shameful. The British politician was largely dismissive of 2 tweets sent by Trump in the wake of the attacks, which misconstrued a statement from Khan. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, Khan said there was no cause for alarm when referring to a visible increase in police activity on the streets of London. Trump appeared to misconstrue the statement on Sunday when he tweeted, "At least 7 dead and 48 wounded in terror attack, and Mayor of London says there is no reason to be alarmed." Trump renewed his criticism of Khan on Monday, a day after attacking his handling of the weekend's terror attack in the city. Trump said, "Pathetic excuse by London Mayor Sadiq Khan, who had to think fast on his 'no reason to be alarmed' statement. Mainstream media is working hard to sell it." Following a vigil held near the city's famous Tower Bridge, Khan said that as he deals with the fallout from the latest attack on the British capital, he hasn't got the time to respond to tweets from Donald Trump. Prime Minister Theresa May came to Khan's defense, saying he was doing a good job and that they were working together closely in the wake of the weekend attack. "I think Sadiq Khan is doing a good job and it's wrong to say anything else," Prime Minister May told reporters after a general election campaign speech. May declined to directly criticize Trump for his tweet, which has prompted a fierce backlash in Britain. Asked what it would take for her to publicly criticize the US president, May suggested that she was not afraid to speak out when Trump gets things wrong. "I've been very clear. I've been very happy to say when I think President Trump is wrong, to have taken America out of the climate change agreement, the Paris Agreement," May said. "So I'm not afraid to say when I think President Trump is getting things wrong." US-backed forces in Syria have launched an offensive to seize the city of Raqqa after more than 3 years of ISIS rule. Raqqa is the de facto capital of ISIS. Envisaged Islamic Caliphate, and the bid to retake the city marks the most significant offensive in the international fight against the extremist group to date. The Syrian Democratic Forces have been circling in on Raqqa since November last year, and on Tuesday announced they would begin a new push. An SDF spokesman said, "After we have completed the stages of encircling of Raqqa from 3 sides, north, east and west, today we are facing a historic moment that the whole world and all peace-loving people have waited for, which is to declare the beginning of the campaign to liberate the city of Raqqa and destroy the so-called capital of ISIS." The city, which is the extremist group's operational command headquarters, is now largely surrounded, its main supply routes cut off by advancing forces. The US-led coalition fighting ISIS in Syria and Iraq confirmed the start of the offensive and added that the SDF's allied Syrian Arab coalition would also take part. The coalition said in a statement, citing its commanding general, Lieutenant General Steve Townsend, "The fight for Raqqa will be long and difficult, but a defensive would deliver a decisive blow to the idea of ISIS as a physical caliphate." US intelligence indicates the city is laced with trenches, tunnels, roadside bombs, and houses and buildings wired to explode, an official told CNN. ISIS has used Raqqa as a staging ground for its deadly attacks on the Middle East and further overseas. Capturing Raqqa would effectively bring an end to ISIS and its brutal experiment of creating an Islamic caliphate. Nearly 200,000 people and 5,000 militants live in the city. According to the organization, Raqqa is being slaughtered silently. Police said they have uncovered significant evidence in the Manchester Arena bombing investigation, and they want the public's help. Greater Manchester Police found a gym bag described as a holdout in a white Nissan Micra seized in the Rusholme area of Manchester on June 2nd. Investigators said bomber Salman Abdi made repeated trips to and from his car between May 18 and 22. Police said, "We believe he was taking items from the car to help assemble the device." Forensic examination has uncovered significant evidence inside. "We now need any information you might have about this holdout. Did you see someone in the Rusholme area with this holdout or recognize the one on the photo?" Abedi detonated a bomb that killed 22 people, many of them children and young people, who were leaving an Ariana Grande concert at Manchester Arena. Police confirmed the car was sold by its previous owner on April 13 and that Abedi left the country on April 15. "It is vital we understand what happened to this car during these few days," police said. "We need to know who was in the car and where it went." Police also stated that they are making significant progress in the investigation of the May 22 attack. A 38-year-old man was arrested at London's Heathrow Airport in connection with the attack, police said in a statement late on Tuesday. The statement said the man was arrested on suspicion of offences contrary to the terrorism attack and remains in custody. Police confirmed the arrest was planned and there was no direct threat to the airport. A total of 7 men remain in custody for questioning. Though Abedi seems to have acted alone the night of the attack, police said that doesn't mean he did not have help in the lead-up. To health news. According to the World Health Organization, the number of suspected cases of cholera resulting from a severe outbreak in Yemen has passed 100,000. A total of 798 deaths associated with this disease have been recorded in 19 out of 22 provinces since 27 of April. The charity Oxfam said the epidemic was killing 1 person almost every hour. Yemen's health, water and sanitation system are collapsing after 2 years of war between government forces and the rebel Houthi movement. Cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by ingestion of food or water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholera. Most of those infected will have no or mild symptoms, but in severe cases, the disease can kill within hours if left untreated. On Wednesday, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said the epidemic in Yemen was of an unprecedented scale. In the past 4 weeks, it added the number of deaths had been 3 times higher than that reported between October 2016, when Yemen's government first announced an outbreak, and March 2017. The authorities in the rebel-controlled capital Sana'a, which was recorded in the highest number of cases, declared a state of emergency on 14th of May. More than half of the country's health facilities are no longer functioning, with almost 300 having been damaged or destroyed in the fighting. And to our final news story. In sport, England reached the final of the Under-20 World Cup for the first time by coming from behind to beat Italy. Paul Simpson's side dominated the second half with new Liverpool striker Dominic Solanke scoring twice through a calm equaliser and a long-range strike. Everton's Ademola Lookman netted the second, tucking home a finish from 6 yards out on 77 minutes. England will play Venezuela, who beat Uruguay in Sunday's final in South Korea. Kickoff 11:00 BST. Italy had taken the lead within the first 2 minutes when Juventus winger Riccardo Orsolini slotted home from inside the area. But England created chance after chance in the second half to become the nation's first men's team to reach any World Cup final since the senior side in 1966. England finished top of their group, which included a thumping 3-0 win over a 6-time champions Argentina. Manager Simpson had told BBC Sport before the match that reaching the final would be massive, and their approach and style of play is changing everyone's perception of English football. The scoreline could have been even more empathetic, but Solanke flicked a header wide and forced Italy goalkeeper Andrea Zacchino into a fine save, while Ojo struck the outside of the post with a curled effort. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch this news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Mira Gogas from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night.